very warm welcome to all of you joining us today for the exclusive MSB Association webinar. And I am Sakshi Ingole and I'll be your host for today's exciting session. So I know many of you are already familiar with the MSB Association, but I would like to quickly explain to those who are new and they want to know about the MSB Association. So the MSB Association was started in 2024 with a single goal to support MSBs within the UK. So running an MSB is not always easy and there are many challenges such as banking issues, compliance requirements and regulations. So as a non-profit association, we aim to support MSB by providing guidance, education and networking opportunities. So what is the vision, objective and purpose of MSB Association? So as a MSB Association, our vision is to create a strong and trusted community for MSB in the UK. Our objective is to be your voice, supporting you with the regulations, banking matters, and representing your interests directly to the authorities. And our purpose is to protect and professionalize the UK MSB sector, making it stronger through powerful advocacy, tailored resources, and strategic partnerships. So what are the benefits of membership? So when you join the MSB Association, you gain access to many valuable benefits such as legal and compliance guidance. We'll support you during the HMRC and FCA audits. We'll introduce you to MSB banking partners. We'll introduce you to wholesale currency providers. We'll assist you in working with banking partners who release term funds, and we'll guide you selecting tools for your business growth. So all of these benefits are designed to help your businesses run smoothly and efficiently. So about the knowledge hub, as we continue to deliver a real and practical value, we have launched our how-to series covering critical topics for MSBs. So from risk assessment to FCA consumer duty, or even how to start a currency exchange bureau, we have made it easier for you to navigate the complex topics. So just scan this QR and explore this resource at your fingertips. So now about the webinars. So far we have covered 3 important topics and you can see this on the screen. So we'll continue to covering important topics like this in the future. And if you have any specific topic in mind, you can share it with us. And if you want to watch our previous webinars, just simply scan this QR and you can check it out. So about the members meetup highlights. In addition to webinars, we also host in-person networking events. Last year, we had our first MSB Association members meetup, which was a great success with excellent networking and insightful keynote session. Now we are back with the MSB Association second members meetup. So I am excited to share that our second members meetup will take place on 16th April 2026 at the Leonardo Royal Hotel, London, St. Paul's. And that event is co-sponsored by Clear Junction. And we are also planning to invite representatives from the FCA and HMRC. So if you would like to join and gain insight in person, just scan this QR and register yourself for the meetup. So introducing to today's speaker. And now for the highlight of today's session, I'm excited to introduce our speaker, Mr. Ajinkya Patil, Compliance Manager at Calyx Solutions, who will be speaking about the topic that every MSB should be prepared for, HMRC visit preparations. And Ajinkya will share practical insight on what to expect and how to be fully prepared for HMRC inspections. And if you have any questions during the session, please drop them in the chat section and we'll take them from there. So without further delay, over to you, Ajinkya.
I would like to welcome everyone. Great to have you here today. My name is Ajinkya Patil and I work as a compliance manager at Calyx Solutions. Before we start, I would like to thank MSB Association, the chairperson and the board members for providing me with this an opportunity to present the webinar. Today, we are going to talk about something every MSB eventually experience, an HMRC compliance visit. What to expect, how to prepare, and what exactly happens on the day. By the end of this session, you will know how to approach the visit confidently rather than nervously. So, what they look for and what they expect from you. Then we will go through the preparation steps, what happens during the visit, what to do after the visit, and the possible outcomes. And of course, we will wrap up with the key takeaways. Before we start, let me ask you, what's the feeling you get when you receive a HMRC visit email? For most of the people, it's a mix of anxiety, confusion, or simply a reaction. Oh, what now? Some people might feel confident, but most of you aren't. And that's okay. After this session, you will have a much clearer idea of what HMRC expects and how to stay prepared year around. Moving ahead, we will talk about why HMRC conducts compliance visit. It's mainly to check firms' compliance with money laundering regulations and EU transfer of fund regulations. The focus is always on AML controls, things like customer due diligence, enhanced due diligence checks, suspicious activity reporting, and staff training. In short, they are checking whether AML framework of the firm works in practice and not just on paper. So before visit preparation steps, HMRC, as we have seen in the earlier slide, HMRC sends you an confirmation email. It's mainly to check firms' compliance with the money laundering regulations and as I mentioned earlier, EU regulations. In this email, you will also get a checklist of documents that you need to provide to HMRC. First is AML policies and procedures, risk assessment and controls, training logs, suspicious activity reporting procedures, information about your payout partner if you are a money remittance company, information about wholesalers if you are a currency exchange company. And also, if you have onboarded any agents, HMRC will be requesting information about your agents as well. So what's the first step? It's the review of your policies and procedures document and the risk assessment document. Make sure your policies and procedures document are as per Section 18 and Section 19 of money laundering regulations. Your policies and procedures should cover the risk related to customers, risk related to transaction, risk related to your product and service, risk related to your delivery channel, and last but not the least, the geographical risk. Some common mistakes that the firms do while sending this document to HMRC is send a templated document. And this is where most of the firms goes wrong. As this is a basic document which you need to submit to HMRC, you should check whether it has covered all the risks that we have covered in the earlier slide, and it should reflect the risk the business actually faces rather than a template document. Then you need to send transaction records and customer records. HMRC performs data sampling on transaction reports submitted. They should also request about the identification document, customer due diligence records, enhanced due diligence records, transaction history, and AML screening checks. What's the step 2? Reports and customer records. If a customer crosses threshold, you must provide the source of fund, additional customer information, and monitoring records. Step 3 is the training, and it is most important, where all relevant staff of your business should consider and should know about money laundering risk, terrorist financing risk, proliferation financing risk, companies' AML policies and procedures, and how to report a suspicious activity, and the internal reporting process, as well as reporting an SAR to NCA. So as per section 24 of money laundering regulations, each and every staff member should be trained. What we recommend here is a staff should be trained for at least once in last 12 months. The documentation must include training certificates, training topics, training date, and staff attendees. If the training is an internal training, then you should have a training log prepared where you should take signatures of the staff on the training you have imparted to them. So before the visit preparation, should be the step 4, system knowledge, and this is a very, very important part. The director, MLRO, and staff must understand the system that they use to keep the records. HMRC officer during the visit may ask you to demonstrate how customer checks are recorded. The tip for the day is staff should be able to show this live in the system without having any difficulties in the system. So what happens during the visit? Now let's talk about the visit itself. 2 HMRC officers will visit. One will be the lead and the other one will be support the lead officer. It's usually lasts around 4 hours, and I must say they may ask around 200 questions or even more. The visit actually takes place in 4 main parts. In first part, it is about company's information. Second part is about AML knowledge assessment. Third part is about data sampling and record verification. And the fourth part is about suspicious activity reporting review. We will go one by one and what HMRC expects during each section. So when it comes to basic company information, HMRC may ask questions about company's turnover, profit and expenses, business model. When it comes to business model, if you are a currency exchange business, then you need to show them the flow of how you onboard customer, how the flow of funds go. If you are a money remittance company, you should be knowing the flow of how you onboard the customers as well as how the transactions takes place in the system. Other part is about the number of customers and the transaction volumes, and they might even ask you to present HMRC fit and proper letters, which you have got during the registration. The basic idea of this is to understand the scale of the business and the risk profile of the business. What happens during the visit? AML knowledge assessment. HMRC officer will test the understanding of money laundering, terrorist financing, proliferation financing, internal suspicious activity reporting procedures, understanding of the staff about system alerts and checks. Common question HMRC officer may ask the staff is about what would you do if you identify a suspicious transaction? Data sampling and record verification. HMRC officer selects random transactions from your report and they may ask you to request customer IDs, customer due diligence documents, enhanced due diligence documents and records, and transaction monitoring details. And this is where most of the firms fail due to missing documentation, incomplete CDD documentation, threshold checks not performed properly, incomplete AML checks. I would like to give you an example here of one of the client who did AML checks when the customer was onboarded using a third party, but their software provider was unable to fetch the reports, the AML check reports into the system. And this was highlighted during the visit where customer documentations was there, but AML check reports were not with the firm, and they were not deflected in the system. And this is where you need to check about if you have conducted the AML checks, it has to be there with the CDD documentation. It is not that incomplete AML checks is okay with the HMRC officers. So the basic aspect here is, if you have conducted the AML checks, then you should have the proper documents and the reports ready with you during the visit. Suspicious activity reporting. HMRC officers will ask you about internal suspicious activity reports, how staff escalates the concern, as in if staff has identified a suspicious activity, what is your internal suspicious activity reporting process? Whether you use a form to report a suspicious activity, whether you use an email to report a suspicious activity to your MLRO, or even it can simply be a text message or a phone call. But for preparing the documentation log, it is recommended for the staff to report it through a suspicious reporting form or through an email. But as we all know, it is very much important for the suspicious activity as and has taken place. So it can be through phone call or through a text message. But to maintain the log, it is recommended that to have an email communication with the MLRO or an communication through a manual suspicious activity reporting form. Then they will assess MLRO's knowledge about reporting an SAR to NCA, what roles and responsibilities MLRO handle an SAR to NCA. They will also ask you about how you have conducted investigation on any suspicious activity that has been reported to you by the customer. So you need to be prepared with all the process. Here I would like to inform you that NCA has published guidelines where you can check about the reporting procedures of reporting an SAR to NCA, and I would recommend you to check the guidelines and follow that has been published on NCA's website. What to do during the visit? So during the visit, keep your business premises clean and organized. Remove any unnecessary documentations and paperwork. If you are a cash-based business and the cash in the vault does not match with the stock reports, then HMRC may seize the excess cash. So you need to be very careful about the cash in the premises and unwanted documents during the visit. As I mentioned, it is important to have documentation ready during the visit. So keep the documentation easily accessible. So as per the email that has been sent to you by HMRC, you need to be ready with AML policies and procedures, AML risk assessment document, customer records, staff training logs, transaction, CDD and EDD documents. These documents can be kept in hard copies or even in the soft copy. Communication with the HMRC officer, and this is where most of the firms go wrong, where they are unable to assess the question that has been asked by HMRC officer. Sometimes the question is not clear, sometimes it is misinterpreted. So it is your responsibility. If any question is not clear, ask the officer to repeat the question, or you can ask for the clarification. Do not answer any questions you do not understand. As I mentioned, clear communication will avoid misinterpretations. For example, an HMRC officer may ask, when do you apply enhanced due diligence for customer? Or what happens in your system when a customer reaches a transaction monitoring threshold? As you can see, the questions are similar. The questions are different, but the answer for this is similar. For example, if you are going to conduct an enhanced due diligence on customer, what your process will be is, if they have crossed a threshold limit for proof of ID, for proof of address, then you will be requesting for proof of address document, which should be not older than 90 days. If a customer has crossed a source of fund limit, then you will be asking for source of fund document from the customer. It can be a bank statement, which should be supported by a payslip or even a invoice if they have received an invoice from any of the business. Similarly, for the other question, what you're going to do if a customer reaches the transaction monitoring threshold, the answer should be similar. If there is a difference in answers, then HMRC officer may think that there is a lag in information and the policies and procedures and what exactly you are telling them does not match. So after the visit, once the visit is done, HMRC sends you notes of the meeting. Read it carefully. If something is incorrect or misinterpreted, you can request a correction, usually within 7 days. This step is very important and the notes may influence your final outcome. So make sure you read the notes properly, and if there is any miscommunication, it is very much important to address that case officer within 7 days of you receiving the notes of the meeting. So what will be the possible outcomes? So there are 5 outcomes after the visit. First is no action. If your business is well prepared for the visit, HMRC will issue you a no action. If there are HMRC where policies are not fully aligned with the regulations, for example, this warning letters, HMRC issues the warning letters when there is a difference in the policies and procedures and what exactly you have mentioned during the visit. So make sure your policies and procedures are in line with the regulations as well as your standard processes. It should not vary, and your answers during the visit should be as per the policies and procedures document. The fourth outcome can be a penalty, and the penalty up to £2,000 when a serious compliance breach is identified by the HMRC officer. The fifth and the final is suspension. Depending upon the circumstances, they may consider even criminal prosecution. So your preparations directly affects which one you get. Most penalties come from simple issues, just like outdated documents, submitting a templated documents, missing records, or there is a gap between staff understanding of AML process. So what are the key takeaways? To summarize, based on the outcomes, what are the key takeaways here are: keep your AML documentation updated, ensure risk assessment reflects actual business operations, maintain proper customer records, train your staff regularly, be organized and transparent during the visit, conduct regular internal and external audits to assess the business process and compliance with the regulations. Doing this consistently keeps you fully prepared, not just for HMRC visit, but for your own peace of mind as well. Sakshi, do we have any questions?
Yes, we have a question from Rupi Global Solutions. That is, so what if I change the record keeping software? Should I retain the old data?
Okay, so that is a very good question. As per MLR regulations and GDPR, it is mandatory for you to keep records for 5 years. Even if you have changed the software, you need to keep the records of customer transactions, customer ID, and all other customer information for minimum of 5 years, even if you have changed the software or you have shifted from one software to the another software. I guess I have answered it correctly and you are satisfied with the answer.
Okay, so we have next question from Akshata. What documents are acceptable forms of identification under MLR 17?
Okay, the common documents as per MLR 2017 is any government approved ID document. It can be a passport or a driving license.
Okay, thank you. Again, a question from Rupee Global Solutions. What if the customer exceed the SOF but don't have the bank statement but have the screenshot of the payment which he got?
It is mandatory. What we would recommend here is it depends upon your policies and procedures of what you are going to accept as a source of fund. What we recommend here is screenshots from the mobile can be templated as well. So we recommend is to take a proper bank statements from the customer if they have crossed the source of fund limit, and it should match whatever the incomings are into their bank account. So what we recommend here is to take a bank statement rather than the screenshot.
Okay. So next question from Billy. How long does it usually take the compliance check from the visit to the outcome?
Okay. So it depends upon normally 28 working days is what HMRC officers will take to respond and to come back to you after the visit and the outcome. The outcome may vary. They may even reopen the case and reassess the business again. And they may visit the business, or they may even schedule a phone call or a Google Meet. And then they will come up to the outcome.
Okay. So next question from Abdul Qadir. Please could you double check conflict if the record keeping period changed from 5 years to 6 years now?
As it is not been published anywhere, so what we need to be checked with is 5 years only at this point of time. But the regulation, if there are any regulation changes in the regulations, it will be communicated with all the firms as and when there are changes.
Okay.
But at this moment it is 5 years and we need to stick with 5 years.
Okay. So next question from Highway. What are the most common mistakes businesses make when they're preparing their records for HMRC review, and how can we avoid them?
Okay, the most common mistakes, as I mentioned in the earlier slides, is a templated document where firms do not review their documents properly, and what happens is they do not cover the risks that are mentioned in section 18 and as per HMRC guidelines of preparing the RAPCPs or the policies and procedures document. If the risks are not covered properly, that is the main thing. Other thing is about the customer's records not been updated. If your threshold limit in your policies and procedures say that you accept ID when you cross the limit of £1,000, and there are few transactions where customers has crossed £1,000 and the IDs are not collected or the due diligence is not been conducted, then this is a major lapse where most of the firms faces. And this is what is been highlighted in most of the HMRC visits, where firms are not following their own policies and procedures and the staff is not aware about the firm's policies and procedures.
Okay. So next question from IFIC Money Transfer. If the bank statement is SOF, does it cover POA?
Yes, it does. But again, it depends upon your company's policies and procedures document and what kind of documents you want to accept as a proof of address, as a source of funds. But if it is a source of fund and it is a bank statement, what we recommend is it should always be supported by the incomings. For example, if the person is receiving a salary then the bank statement should be supported by a salary slip which is less than 3 months older.
Okay. So next question is from Hamunot. How many days before will HMRC email us for the visit?
Normally they email you 1 month before or 28 days before. So you have got a lot of time to prepare yourself for HMRC visits.
Okay. So
But what we recommend is not to wait for HMRC's email, but to be compliant and to keep your documentation for all the year around, rather than waiting for HMRC to send you an email for the visit. It is better to prepare earlier rather than waiting for HMRC's email.
Okay. So next question is from Highway. If HMRC flags unusual transaction or discrepancy, what is the best way for a business owner to respond or resolve the issue quickly?
Okay. First is you need to identify what was the lapse for, or if there was any if you have allowed that customer to do the transactions, you should have the transaction details as well as documents which will support that transactions. For example, as we were talking about the source of fund document, and that should be supported by a valid source of fund document as well. For example, if they have submitted a bank statement, then it should be supported by a payslip or an invoice for the incoming amount.
Okay. So next question from Shiva. Is that tailor-made online training to the staffs is sufficient, or do we need to give additional on-site training, one-on-one or group as well?
Both are recommended. It is always better to have a certificate by doing an online training, but internal trainings are pretty much very much important, where you and your staff will assess what exactly you are doing on day-to-day basis, and what you need to train your staff is about your internal controls, because online trainings will give you an overview, but what exactly your staff needs to know is about what internal controls you have, what policies and procedures they need to follow, what are your steps of customer onboarding, what are your system related functionalities where you do customer onboarding, transaction monitoring, or even AML checks. So it is recommended to do both, where online trainings will provide you a certificate and internal trainings will help your staff to gain knowledge about what exactly your operations are and how to perform customer due diligence and the AML checks. So here we would recommend to go with both the online trainings as well as with the internal trainings. But make sure if you're providing an internal training to your staff, you keep the log of the training, you take the signatures of the staff on the training log and maintain that log for minimum of 5 years. Any other questions?
Yeah. Next question from Mario, and he's saying, we had our HMRC visit last year on April 2025. We received the no action outcome letter on May 2025. So what is the typical frequency of these visits? And secondly, are firms with worse outcomes expected to receive more frequent visits?
Okay, so that is a good thing that you have received a no action letter. I guess you're following all the procedures and policies, and your firm is working in with the regulations and all. That's a good sign. HMRC, they do not have the criteria for the period when they are going to revisit the firm. Most of the times they are random visits where they will be visiting. They might visit you after 2 years, maybe 3 years, or maybe even after 5 years. So there is no any fixed criteria of HMRC visiting your firm again.
Okay, we have another question, but
I guess I have satisfied Mario about that.
Yes, thank you very much. Much appreciated.
Okay, so before going to next
So,
question,
Sakshi, just 1 minute. Before we take other questions, I would like to go to the next slide, where it's about a training platform, Calyx Learning training platform. I would like to explain about Calyx Learning. So, Calyx Learning platform helps you build the skills and regulatory knowledge for the MSB staff that needs to run the business in a compliant manner. It explains complex AML and HMRC rules in clear everyday language, so you and your team can learn quickly, stay compliant, and avoid costly mistakes. Please scan the QR code, which will redirect you to the Calyx Learning platform. We are offering a 50% discount. Use the code AJ50, and it is valid till 13th of May 2026. So I hope you get yourself and your staff trained. The Calyx Learning platform will also provide you with the certificate at the end of the course, and it will be a very much important aspect of HMRC visits and your day-to-day business as well. Yeah, next question, Sakshi.
yes, does HMRC check settlement bank accounts of the businesses about inflows and outflows?
Most of the times, HMRC checks the transaction records of the customers. They do not go into the bank accounts, but it depends upon the case officer. I would not say that they would look at the bank statements or they would not look at the bank statements. But if there are any suspicious transactions, then they may even check the bank accounts as well.
Next question is from Bilay. Can I add a new director or a new shareholder while the compliance check is still ongoing?
As in compliance check means after the visit you're talking about, or how?
Yes.
Okay, so you can do that. There is nothing to do about the visit. If you want to onboard a new MLRO or a director in the business during this visit, you can definitely add a new director or the MLRO, but make sure that director or the MLRO has an experience in money service business before you are onboarding him or her.
Okay. So we have next question from Yash. If I have a language barrier, can I accompany someone with me during the visit to avoid the communication gap?
Yes, definitely you can accompany someone, but it has to be from your staff. No third persons are allowed. If you want to have a third person who is not your staff, you can request to HMRC after receiving confirmation email from them that you have a language barrier and you want someone to accompany you during the visit. But what we recommend is not to go for any third person. It has to be a member of staff that can accompany you during the visit.
Okay. So next question from Priyanka. How do we handle situations where customers don't have standard identification documents?
So if a customer do not have a standard documentation and it does not matches with your policies and procedures, you do not onboard that customer. Simple.
Okay. So last question from Vishwesh. How often should AML policies be reviewed and how can we evidence this?
So it is recommended to review the policies and procedures as and when there is a changes in regulations or there is an update in your internal procedures, or you can update it once in a year or once in a 6 months. It depends upon your process of reviewing and updating the document. But what we recommend is you need to update your policies and procedures as and when there is change in regulations or there are any changes in your internal process.
Okay, so before end up, we have a new question from Ruby Global. Can staff answer to HMRC officers behalf of the MLRO?
Yes, the staff can answer to the HMRC officers on behalf of the MLRO, but it is, again, I would recommend that MLRO should be the person who needs to answer the questions from HMRC officers rather than staff. HMRC will come to staff members for questions related to handling the software that you are using or the system that you are using. HMRC officers may ask your staff regarding the internal SAR reporting process. HMRC officers may ask your staff directly regarding the trainings that they have, internal trainings that they have undergone with the firm. But what I would recommend here is the MLRO should be the person who needs to answer the HMRC officers during the visit.
Okay, so this is the last question we're gonna address from Highway. For businesses handling international payments or money transfers, what additional compliance expectation does HMRC typically look for?
To be honest, there are no additional compliance things that HMRC looks for. What HMRC officers looks for is you complying with your own policies and procedures, and that procedures should be in line with the regulations. So, for example, if you're a remittance company, what you need to do is to have your policies and procedures updated with the regulations. You need to have your customer due diligence records properly maintained. If a customer has crossed any kind of thresholds that are mentioned in your policies and procedures, then you need to have a proper documentation that can satisfy your process. And make sure the AML checks are conducted on the customers as and when they are onboarded, rather than doing that after the onboarding date.
Okay, sorry, but one more we have.
Yeah, I'm happy to answer all the questions.
Does the MLRO needs to be physically in the UK, or can they carry out their duties from abroad?
That's a tough one. A good question, by the way. So most of the MLROs has to be in UK rather than they being at a third country, because if you're outside UK and you're handling compliance responsibilities, then it becomes tough for the business if there are any concerns related to transactions or any suspicious customer has been onboarded. So it is recommended that MLRO has to be there in UK itself rather than in any other country.
Okay, one more. IFIC money transfer. If any customer's address verified by a third party, example GBG or credit self, then so we need to take POA for this particular customer.
But the third parties are going to verify only if the customer has uploaded the proof of address document. So anyhow, you need to have the proof of address document so that the third party can verify it.
Okay, so if anyone have any other questions, then you can email us and we'll try to reply you.
Sorry, can I add to that point with the address proof?
Yeah, please.
Usually we are using Credit Safe, and when we take the address from the customer verbally and enter into the system, it sort of matches with the electoral register and verifies it. So can we use that as a proof of address in that case?
So when you are going to take the address proof, is it when the customer has crossed the proof of address limit, or is it during the onboarding that you have a general information about?
Well, general information update.
So if the customer has not crossed the proof of address limit, it is okay not to collect the ID. But But if they have crossed the limit, then it is mandatory as per your policies and procedures that you need to take their proof of address document.
Okay, so this can't be used as a proof. We have to obtain another proof of address. Yeah?
No. This can't be used as a proof. You need to have a physical document with you.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Okay,
Any other
so
questions?
actually, we need to conclude now. But anyone have any questions, please email us and we'll answer your all questions by email. And okay, so now, thank you, Ajinkya, for the very insightful and engaging session.
Before you start, Sakshi, I would like to again thank MSB Association, the chairperson, and the board members for providing me with this an opportunity for this webinar. I really appreciate the opportunity, and thank you, Sakshi, for hosting this webinar.
Before you go, if you can please answer the question that's raised with White. The last question, please.
Can I say my question, please?
I would recommend to keep to post your questions in the chat box, and we will be happy to email you with the replies because we are running short on time.
Okay.
Is it possible to send us the answers to all of us by email as well?
I will try to send each and everyone the answers through email.
Yes, we'll share the recording.
We have noted all your questions. We have recorded all your questions, and we will answer you all your questions through email.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you everyone for attending this webinar.
Okay. So thank you, Ajinkya. That was a very insightful and engaging session. And I'm sure everyone found it very helpful, especially when it comes to preparing for a future HMRC visit. And of course, a big thank you to all the attendees for joining us today. And if you would like to continue benefiting from sessions like this, we would love to welcome you as a member of MSB Association. Just scan this QR and become a member today. And I hope we'll see more of you at the MSB Association Members Meetup on 16th April. So go ahead and scan this now to register yourself. So until next time, stay compliant and take care. Thank you.